Next up, James talks about dream interpretation and some of his views around that. And he breaks it up into two different categories, where one being, trying to interpret what the different signs and symbols within the dream mean, and then the other one being dream analysis. But in particular, when it comes to that first one, trying to interpret what the different signs and symbols within your dream mean, there's one huge problem with that he brings up in this book, and I've brought up in several videos in the past. And this is specifically if you're trying to get your meanings from some type of book or online resource or someone else, right? Because we're all individual enough and have our own specific views on the world that just because some book says a snake means this, an apple means that, etc., that by no means means that that's how you're going to see and relate to those things yourself personally. So if you did want to go with this approach, what I would recommend is coming up with your own meanings for all these different signs and symbols, right? Start keeping a detailed dream journal, and then start building your list of, whatever you want to think a snake means to you, etc., etc. What else we got in here? Okay, so for dream analysis involves methods of interpreting dreams that deals more with the dreamer, their association and attitudes towards the dreams, its events, and how those events might relate to some other aspects of our lives or perhaps our unconscious desires. It is typically a means of a clinician working with the dreamer to attempt to understand which conditions in their life or in their psyche might have caused them to dream what they did, and to identify why some things might have been expressed in the way that they were, right? So that could definitely be potentially useful there. Also like this part. So he writes, instead of thinking of dreams as containing hidden messages, I find it much more useful to think about dreams as mirrors or reflectors, right? Where, say if you're going through a really stressful time in your life, very oftentimes dreams will reflect that. If you're going through this really wonderful time, dreams can often reflect that back as well. Then he just continues to talk about how the only source that should matter in dream interpretation would logically be the dreamer themselves, right? So, if you're trying to go to some other person to tell you what your dreams means, I mean, by all means, man, go for it, give it a shot if you find that interesting. But really, the final call on all this stuff is going to have to definitely be the actual person and the dreamer. And then we'll close it out with this. I just thought it was kind of funny. So we have no evidence or rational reason to believe that there are symbols hidden in our dreams that have an objective meaning to interpret. It just doesn't make sense as a concept without presupposing a belief in some deity, or in the idea that perhaps our unconscious is actively trying to communicate with us in symbols. Of course, the latter makes more sense than the former, but not by much. So I just thought that was funny because that's how I tend to view things. I mean, that's how I like to view things. I like to think about it as my subconscious mind in there within these dreams, potentially trying to communicate to my conscious awareness, and whether that really is the case or not, who knows? I just like thinking about it like that myself. But anyway, that will wrap up that video. Until the next one, keep the dream interpretation practice legit.